Oh, yeah, no. Oh, yeah. They looking for a film that has big time count. What B-movie will be the ultimate champ? You might think they crazy, might think they disease, but they watch all the shot to find the best of the bees. It's Stan, Jim, Jack, and Nick who watch till it's finished. But their love for these movies can be diminished. And maybe the film's plot has no rhyme or reason, but that's part of the jam. And Brad of the season. It's the low-budget film that it is most true. They find in the flick that's most boogaloo. Kung Fu, electric boogaloo. Ooh, ooh, electric boogaloo. Kung Fu, electric boogaloo. Ooh, ooh, electric boogaloo.
Yak Mala! Yak Mala! Welcome back, my friends, to the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo. I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu. So happy to be joining you for Season 12 of the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo. This is One Shit Wonder. And, this is where we have the movies, where the filmmakers or the actors are in, and they have just done one shitty movie. And so we are so happy to be talking about shitty movies. But we love them. So, the other guys who love them, I am joined by my good friends, and I've got James Cotta.
I'm thrilled to be back here and dealing with these one shit wonders. I'm glad that we're not one. This is episode 89.
That's right. I mean, we could be, but we just keep going.
Maybe one note wonders is what we are.
One note, yes. All right, and Jack Hall.
Sup? I'm sorry if I'm a little low energy today. I only got maybe at best 2 hours sleep. I think there might have been something funny in the pizza I ate last night.
I get that. and
But
then,
seriously, I did only get about 2 hours sleep.
It's just because you slept 24 hours the day before, so.
That's what it felt like watching the movies.
All right, Nick Boxer.
Good greetings, and I have to apologize. I have not brushed my teeth this morning, so I am breathing a little bit of fire.
It's
That's
basically it's what's different.
Yeah.
Is what I'd like to know.
I like how you did that. So, Breathing Fire is the name of our movie. So in this case, now Nick, you brought this movie. So please explain to everybody why this is a one shit wonder.
This movie is credited by in the film for two directors, neither of which have ever worked again. And I'm just counting in the film industry. It is entirely possible that they may have worked for McDonald's after this.
Perfect.
Not guaranteed.
No, I'm not saying I've done any research, but that would be my guess.
All right.
So I wanted you to know there, Nick, that I thought for a little while about proposing that we change roles and you do trivia from now on, and I do movies, the synopsis, the plot. But I didn't want to deny everybody your.
That's true.
I thought that would be cruel.
Please, Nick, please give us your synopsis for Breathing Fire.
Doesn't the title tell it all?
Oh, does it
Breathing Fire. No, okay. Plot synopsis. Michael, who is both the father of two young teenagers, one adopted and one biological, is also the leader of a bank heist gang. This gang strong arms a bank manager into robbing his own bank. And after they've taken off with several gold bars, they lock them away for safekeeping until the heat dies down. Now, to keep each other honest, the key to the safe, they make an impression in a plastic pizza and divide the slices between them so nobody can get to the gold without them all being there. And they give one of the slices for some reason to the bank manager, who has a crisis of conscience and panics and mails or puts his piece of the pizza into an envelope and gives to his daughter to mail to his best buddy, a drunken Vietnam vet. For some reason, I was never clear why it was not the police. That would have made more sense. But before she can mail it, the gang comes to their senses and go like, why did we give this guy like a slice or anything? Let's go kill him and take his slice. Well, they come in, they kill the bank manager, and his daughter runs away. And of course, she goes to where the letter was addressed. When she gets there, this drunken vet, I believe his name was David, realizes having a young teenage girl in his back room apartment in her garage is just a little creepy. So he takes the girl for safekeeping to his brother, who just happens to be David, the father / leader of the bank robbery. Now, David, not wanting to give up his life to his sons, puts the girl up in his huge house with his 2 teenage sons, and the sons are like into this and they befriend her, but then the rest of the gang shows up and they try to kill her. So the sons and the girl and Uncle Tony, who is the Vietnam vet, go on the run. And after that is just the bad guys trying to get the pizza from the teenagers and Uncle Tony. And
at this point, the funny thing is that
fight.
you're only like a third of the way through the movie at this point. You're not
Oh yeah, I was catching up on my sleep.
Yeah, no, this is like some serious Family Guy stuff, and then you add in that there is a little person fight in this, which is awesome, and a flashback to the Vietnam days. I think that's as close as I can get it. This movie doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Where do you start with something like this?
I don't know. Let's go to
Well,
scoring.
you mentioned you couldn't sleep last night, Jack. I couldn't either, just trying to figure out what I was going to say on this.
So maybe I'll go really big picture. So there's the summary of the movie. How long a timeline does this movie take place over? Because there's like 18 different training montages. There's times where it seems like they do a training montage, but it's one afternoon, and other times where they learn an entirely new skill that would take months. So not if it's months, the bad guys were surprisingly patient through this whole thing.
Well, there's also other times when people reference to things that happened yesterday, and and stuff like that, and it's like, but like it doesn't make any sense yet. So in my opinion, this movie, like we talk about, okay, it's freshman directors, and the directing to me, I don't think it was bad so much as inexperienced. The problem was the script, and unlike a lot of our movies, there really was a script here. But it was horrible.
I think there might have been 2 or 3 scripts. They just didn't settle on it like a version.
I don't think so, because I mean this is written by try and get the guy's name right here. It is written by Tao Lang Tan under a pseudonym, and he's a Asian martial arts star. He was in like some John Woo movies and movies with Jackie Chan and stuff like that. And he starred in a movie called The Flash Legs, also known as The Deadly Kicks. And this is a remake of that. He's the producer, and he wrote this. And he wrote the script it's almost the exact same movie, just updated a little bit in America, because he was the teacher to what's the kid from the Goonies? What's his name? Jonathan Kwan.
Yep.
Yeah, he was his teacher, and was impressed by his martial arts and wanted to make a film for him that he could star in for it. So it really did have a script, like you say. It's just terrible.
there's just so many points. I mean, my guess would be that this kind of takes place in a week. That seems to be about where I would go. Now that's utterly ridiculous considering that they want Uncle Dave or whatever the hell his name is to teach them his method of martial arts in no time at all. Now they're already we've already proven that they're Taekwondo enthusiasts and really good at it because they wind up each taking the top 2 slots in the Taekwondo tournament right off the top.
And never had to fight each other in the first tournament.
Which quite amazing. But
because the top two made the nationals, which is the theory. So
thankfully, though, they weren't in the same bracket.
I think they mention that they weren't in the same bracket or the same class.
No, they say in the light heavyweight finishing the top 2 contestants.
No, but later on they actually say that we won our separate classes.
Okay, because I did notice that in this movie, it's like these contests, both of them apparently had like no weight limit to me or age, because some people were like 6'6" and like 300 pounds they're fighting, and like 47 years old, and other guys were like teenagers, and it's like this is a weird ass tournament.
Although, you can really tell a martial artist is behind this movie because actually the fight scenes are good. Or at least I thought they were good.
Are they, though?
They were passable.
I thought they were, I would say they were good demonstrations of martial arts. Because I actually found the martial arts scenes the least engaging part of the film. They were like, and now they're going to do some, like a sample of Taekwondo. Yeah, that's what I thought. And a hush falls across the crowd.
I don't have anything.
I thought you were gonna have more there. One of the things that got me about this was, okay, so they spend their time like, okay, so they want Uncle David to teach them his martial arts. Well, actually, let's go back a little bit. So we meet David, like you say, he's drunk, and then he's like as soon as he wakes up, despite being apparently a homeless drunk, he's like brilliant at martial arts, like immediately,
Everybody is.
And then so he goes to the ranch where the head bank robber is, who's also the dad of these 2 kids, who, by the way, are the 2 most annoying human beings to ever live. I wanted to punch them both, but I knew they'd kick my ass. So all of a sudden, and this girl shows up because, like I say, the father showed up at her house for some reason. She's the daughter of the bank robber, the bank manager who has the, like you say, crisis of conscience. And she sort of recognizes the dad, sort of, but she can't quite place him. But she knows something's wrong. So he sends his goons to the ranch house mansion where they live to beat him up. Or to kidnap her. And David is there, and first off, the 2 kids are fighting them. I think there's 3 of them. And then David steps in, and they're like so impressed by his martial arts. So they ask him to teach his martial arts. He's like, you're not disciplined enough, despite the fact that they're brilliant martial arts themselves. So he's sitting there, and he makes them kneel on. Somebody explain the brick thing. Is what I'm saying. Somebody
kneel on edges of bricks. I don't think it needs more than that.
Kneel on the edges of bricks, and it hurts too much, so they don't do it. But eventually they do it. They do it all night long. And he comes in and he's like, "Well, they are dedicated." So he decides to teach them the martial arts. So he teaches it to them. Now, after that, they go and fight. Did anybody notice a single change in how their martial arts was from before they were taught them, other than the one time that they do some bowling ball move? Like, they fought the exact same. Like, what a waste of time.
No. I mean, their shins got stronger because they kneeled on a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah, and they looked
They punched
sore.
trees.
And, yeah, I mean, sure,
And I learned from Kickboxer that is the key to martial arts, being able to kick the shit out of trees.
That's right. Get really angry at trees. That's the way to do this. I think I need to know more about martial arts to know what was a new move and what was their existing move. Maybe just punching trees is the only thing he taught them. They were Like I've never punched a tree. How do I do that?
I did get the sense of the style he was teaching that was slightly more taekwondo or I was going to say taekwondo, but that's what they started with.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Um,
That's my point. He just made my point for me. By the way, somehow I just can't.
Tai
stop
Chi,
thinking
that
about-
was what I was going for.
So I don't think there was any Tai Chi in this, but I just want to say somehow you've made me think about the scene in the Karate Kid Part 2, and they're in the airport and they walk by, and Mr. Miyagi's like his rival. It has a poster of him, and he's smashing all the woods, and Dan goes, "Oh, you see that? That's awesome. Can you do that?" No, never been attacked by a tree. And I'm like, that brings us back to this movie.
Well, there's definitely a lot of points in here that has that reminder of the Karate Kid, like especially in the early going, and then at the very end, it's just like this feels like I know it's not a rehash of the Karate Kid, but it definitely feels like a rehash of the Karate Kid, just in the tone.
That's
did
why I
spend
liked
the
it.
majority of this movie thinking the father in this, the bad guy, actually was the grown-up kid from Karate Kid.
No, it's
But time-wise, it doesn't
not
work,
William
and it's a
Zabka.
different actor. But he had that weird nose thing that, yeah.
Yeah, Jerry Trimble does look a little like him. I agree. Though Jerry Trimble went on to be an actual actor. I mean, despite this movie, he somehow got cast in Heat with Al Pacino and everything like that. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think the reason I like this movie is because it does give me a nostalgia feel. Because after the success of The Karate Kid, there was just tons of these teenage, and this is like a teenage. This is PG-13, right? Somewhere in that range, and there's just tons of these types of teenage martial arts movies. Like they were just loaded with them. Probably No Retreat, No Surrender is probably the most famous of the knockoffs, but like there was tons of them, and so I grew up with films like this, even though I'd never seen this one before. It was so familiar.
Yeah, like there was all this like Little Ninjas and all those like kids doing karate stuff.
Double Dragon. This also had a Double Dragon feel to me.
Oh yeah. How old are these kids supposed to be? That was never really clear to me.
I was going with 18 and 16.
18 and 16. So.
And they hang out with a 22-year-old breakdancer.
Yeah,
At least
some.
22.
At least what?
At least 22, I said.
You're doing the math from Vietnam, which is what I was doing, right?
Okay.
That's a problem. Yep.
22 seems because it's 91,
What?
so assume it. I mean, it's 16 years since Vietnam ended. 18 years since it ended on the high side.
Well,
But didn't they also say he was Korean? So I was working on the Korean conflict for a while there, but that was the 1950s or
No,
Yeah, the
it
math
never
doesn't
said
work in
Korean.
this
It
movie,
never said
period.
Korean. I mean, and
Kwan
then-
would have been 19, around 18, 19 when this movie was made. So
yeah, he was born in 1971. So
the math isn't actually off.
Yeah.
That's
and
yeah.
it's,
that could still
1991
work,
is when it came out, right? So
yeah. So he's
So
he's
and
playing
the other
that
guy, I
stage.
do believe the other guy was before this film and went back into it. Was in the Coast Guard in the Navy or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The key pizza. That's one of the weird. It's one of the strangest MacGuffins I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, not to mention, if you watch the credits on the beginning of this movie,
Oh yeah.
it's not only the pizza. There's a ton of plastic food.
I just don't because I don't know what he does. Like I was staring at that and I'm like, okay, I have no idea what's going on. Why is this guy's job to build fake food for commercials?
Oh, was
or
it
something like
supposed to
that?
be? Was it supposed to be plastic? Are you sure it's supposed
It
to
is
be plastic?
It is plastic. Yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah,
making sure.
I also didn't know that for about half this movie, and then later when she has the one slice of pizza. They mention at that point that it's plastic pizza.
I just
But
love
it's
the
not
fact that
it's not clear. So like when I first see that, because what it is, they have a pizza that they heat up the key for where they've hidden the money. They press the key in and then destroy the key. So you're going to have to reform the key from this impression, and not everyone has the whole impression. which is a really complex plot for the way to
Extraordinarily.
do this. I mean, or
Which
you
is-
could- or you could have
but
given
that-
everyone a different key. Like, I mean, there was probably other ways to do this that weren't pizza related.
Well, yeah, but that kind of goes back to, like you say, that's a complex plot. But that goes back to those Hong Kong movies. A lot of them had super complex plots. You didn't care because the commercialized action was good and it was getting in the way, and you couldn't follow the storylines, and it doesn't matter. Like, that's kind of typical of that era. So, I mean, I think that kind of just, harkens back to that.
I was very confused because I also didn't get that it was a plastic pizza right off. So I'm like, this plan is delicious. but I don't know how long you don't have a really long time to put this pizza back together if that's your plan.
Yeah, I
I
never had a
like
problem with that part. Like, I figured it was plastic and fake right off the bat.
I like that they showed us them doing the mold in the pizza and cutting it up and giving it to each of them. And it was a cheese pizza. And then later on, when we see the slice, it has pepperoni slices on it. I like that part. Nobody else noticed that?
I thought they burned it into the back of the pizza.
I don't know.
I actually thought they had put the toppings on after, because you can't see the key impression in the slices.
I think they just screwed up. Like, that's just me.
Really?
It's-
So you're suggesting that a movie like this would screw up?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
I think
I
You're
think screwing up
understanding
is
their
giving
attention.
way too much credit to the initial plan. They didn't have they didn't think about it. They just did what they did.
So our two heroes who are trying to save the day, and
And completely
they're-
unlikable.
and they're going around tracking down all the bad guys and everything. And I was struck late in the movie that they'll track down a bad guy and then they fight with the bad guy and then other stuff happens. But what I was struck by is that routinely they take the bad guy on 2-1, which really doesn't seem that heroic to me.
This goes back to the fact that they're dicks.
It's
Just like how they trick their.
I thought it
they're
kind of
constantly-
worked because they're so much smaller than everybody else in this movie.
The most likable person in the movie was probably Tank, who unfortunately, meets a death because he was just doing it all for his blind mother. He was the bad guy who was just doing it
He
all for
was,
his blind mother.
Yeah, he's a criminal with a heart of gold, that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll
Exactly.
give you that. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I
for sure.
wish he had been the star. Like, seriously, I can't tell you guys enough how much I thought. Like, these kids were constantly like playing jokes on like at the beginning. There's the bit where the one guy I can't remember what he won't clean his room.
Well, because
See,
they
I
have a
thought that
butler or
was-
something.
Yeah, sort of. I don't know
Who
what
was
the hell
that
it
guy?
is.
I thought that was to establish that the father didn't provide the same things to the biological son as he did the adopted son.
No,
Yeah, that's
you're
fine.
talking about the other.
That's fine. He was still a dick. He was still
Yeah.
a dick to this guy,
Well,
and they were
the
dicks to lots
butler
of
was a dick as well. So
No, he wasn't. It doesn't matter. Like the kid, he's not the hero of the movie. The kids were just dicks to people all the time. A lot of that was an attempt for humor.
see,
but
you're talking shit about Short Round, so I have a little bit of a problem with you there.
he's not so short in this movie.
Oh no. I mean, he is in that awkward stage after.
Of 19.
Funny.
Yeah, it's an awkward age between 19 and 20.
Another thing that gets me about this movie is that really, like, the father tells them to go win the tournament, and they're like, okay, and they say something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but something about, they want to take a trip, and he says, what do you expect me to do, rob a bank? And they're like, oh, that would be great, and then he goes and does that, and, turns out to be a murderer, and he killed Short Round's mother in Vietnam, and was forced by the other guys to like take him home and take care of him for that, and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, they had
Like-
shaming in Vietnam too.
Yeah, of course.
And because the U.S. government, supports
Just lets you-
adoptions
just
like
lets
that.
you
So.
do that. So then he robs the place, and then he says and he kills the mother, And then the next scene, he goes, "How was your tournament last week?" I'm like, "That's a lot that's happened here in these." So and then Uncle David shows up, like I say, his real brother, who has been brought into this because he also knew the bank manager. The bank manager was also in Vietnam, and that's the tie that binds that together in that tight plot that it is. And then the dad just disappears, essentially. I'm like, he's never around for the kids. Nobody ever sees them. These kids are running around taking on his enemies and fighting, and he never goes, wait a sec. Like he never clues in, because it's almost like for like the middle 75% of this movie, they just forgot that he was their father, because it would have been inconvenient to what the story they were trying to tell of the training and the kids being these vigilantes and everything. It would make
sense if the kids knew he was the bad guy.
But they didn't.
They totally don't.
Although there is a fight scene in the club under the strobe lights where nobody recognizes the dad.
It's a little bit
which is a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean, could you recognize your own father in a slightly dark room?
How does the dad, I know that they don't know, but how does the dad not know that they're involved from his cronies? Like, I don't know.
He knew.
Did he? Then all he would have to do is, I don't think he knew, because all he would have to say is, "You're grounded. Go to your room. It's over."
But they ran away.
He didn't have good problem-solving skill, but I think he knew. I think there's a lot of different ways he could have handled this situation had he, not having the guys come by and attack his kids probably would have been a step I would have taken.
Let's face it, the problem-solving skill of everyone in this movie is not great, because I mean, the two kids' plan when they decide to go after the bad guys is to give them the pizza.
Mm-hmm. Yes, to draw them out or something. I was thinking, I don't know what they were doing.
But they straight out give it to them.
They do. I got a plan. Like I say, the script may have been a problem.
And then they were like high-fiving after they got the pizza. It's just like, all right, they fell for it. It's like, what?
What?
How did they fall? No, great plan. They fell for your giving them the extra piece of the pizza.
Now can we get to scoring?
Absolutely, we can. All right. In our search for the ultimate B movie, and welcome back to our search for the ultimate B movie, we rate each film in 5 categories. None of these categories is objective quality. The first category we call schlock appeal, and we start with Stan.
Well, this movie definitely hits on a lot of schlocky measures. It's got a largely nonsensical script. I mean, we certainly have a lot of taekwondo, kung fu, whatever action. One of my considerations with this was like, I just thought to learn the martial arts, if you're a white guy in one of these movies, do you just have to like have a couple of drinks? Is that it? Like drink a bottle of scotch or something, and then it's just like, hey, I know martial arts now. Because
I love movies like this. Every character knows martial arts. Like everybody is a master.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely insane. So those kind of moments, the harkening back to all those kids doing martial arts movies. I mean, there's so much of that stuff in here. It's not the best of them, but it's certainly got some boogaloo. I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, I think 8 is the right. It definitely has that schlock appeal. I think it would go higher if they didn't just put a absolutely awful title that is almost impossible to, conjure anything from the movie. Just saying breathing fire, because there is no fire. I suppose there's breathing in this. So yeah, 8.
I'm not as high as you guys. I didn't find it too schlocky. It's just kind of like a pretty average B movie. I did find it. I had a lot of appeal to me because it was more nostalgia appeals. But so I'm giving it a 6.
I was slightly under that. I think only a 5 for schlock for me. I don't know. It felt like it was missing a something. I'm not sure what that something was, but it was missing a something. More heart than budget, and I did not see a stated budget for this.
Yeah, I couldn't find one either. But Clearly, not a ton.
No, not a ton. I don't know. I don't have a feeling about this movie. Like I don't feel like anybody. I mean, like yes, okay, it was made so that you could get Ki Kwan to do some kicking and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just same old, same old. It's about a 5.
Yeah, I think 5 is absolutely correct for this. I mean, there is a little bit of heart just because, this is a director remaking or this is a writer remaking this for the American audience. He sort of has some investment there, but yeah, it's just like, ooh, can we make the kid from the Goonies because he's Asian, a martial arts dude? Well, yes, we can because it is the 80s/90s.
See, I disagree again. I have it higher this time because I think that I felt like it's not a good writer and it's inexperienced directors, but I don't have the feeling that they weren't giving it their best. Like they just didn't know what they were doing. And I think they really wanted to showcase the martial arts, the Taekwondo, and Jonathan Kikwan and the other guy, Eddie Sabreda, was really a wicked martial artist. I mean,
He
didn't do
was
anything
good.
else, but he was good. Like I really think that they were genuine in their attempt to make this. So 8 for me.
Wow, quite high. I think I would buy the idea that they were trying to create a centerpiece for those two kids if 100% of the time I felt like they were the main characters in the movie, which at times like the uncle takes over as the focus. I was only at a 4 on this one. What the fuck moments.
This is one of those movies where I mean it's even though the script is kind of back and forth and a little bit nebulous at times, there's it definitely follows its plot pretty well. So I mean I pulled out some of the things that I thought, like one of the interesting things even just in the credits is Bolo. It's not Young, it's Bolo Young. I think it's the only movie that he appears as Bolo Young in, and I'm like, wow, you really wanted to go American for this one. But like when I saw the fake food, that was my immediate thing. I was just like, what the fuck? I'm already confused. Like we're 10 seconds into the movie and I'm already thrown down. But I mean, it makes sense, I guess, afterwards. But so there's one scene where when their friend who is the breakdancer shows up, and they are painting the side of a building, and they're like, "Yeah, show me your dance moves." Oh, okay. So they hand him the paint, and he shows the dance moves while painting the thing, and I'm like, "Oh wow, this is awesome. We've Tom Sawyer whitewashed the house." That stands out to me as probably the most what the fuck scene of the entire movie, because it's just like, well, there's no good reason for that. There's a few other funny points, like it's great, like you see a crash mat outside because that's where they've got to like flip somebody over a fence, so there's a crash mat visible. It's sometimes when the kids are walking around, I was just like, dude, is this movie brought to you by Ocean Pacific? Because that's what it looks like they're wearing. Tank, was it Tank? Yeah, Tank's blind mother. Now that right there, like, was totally boogaloo, because it's just like, oh, my son's not bad. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mama. I didn't mean to be bad. I just got mixed up in the wrong crowd. And then just to top it all off, you have, when they wind up going into the bar, you have the little people villains that they have to fight for a little while.
That's pretty messed up, yeah.
Yeah, that was really messed up. So overall, like, those are pretty good. Like, there's a couple of really strong contenders, so I'm going to go with the 7.
Yeah, no, I mean, this movie has a bunch of stuff that you could tell on the day of filming. They just went, you know what would be cool if, like, Bolo Young in the first scene is dressed in drag. There is no reason for this. And a cast.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
why do both?
I just like seeing, like, this is great just for the fact that we got to see somebody decided to dress up Bolo, one of the toughest looking and toughest people in the world. And this is like, hey, we're going to dress you up like a granny.
Yeah,
Yes.
like a grand. And
when
I
really, to make a good movie, all you need is him. Because
He's
I
the
mean,
best thing about the
let's
movie.
face it. I mean, Bloodsport is basically just scenes of John Van Damme or Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits, spliced in between shots of Bolo Young making faces at the camera. That's all that movie is. You could have done that and had a better movie than what this actually is.
Bolo was criminally underused in this movie.
Yeah,
He was,
I
for
actually
sure, yeah.
thought Dress as Drag, like when they saw him and they have a close up of his face, I'm like, is that Mike Tyson?
I can see that. But there's also stuff like there are 2 complete breakdance numbers in this movie that there's no reason for. I mean, they actually have to go out of their way to get that character who can breakdance into both scenes. There's no reason. The little person fight. And there's also weird stuff. Like, did you notice anytime anyone just falls down for any apparent reason, there seems to be a plate glass window right there for them to fall through? 3 times. Somebody just trips in this film and they fall through a window. Yeah, no, there's just some really odd stuff going on in that. So yeah, I have to go like pretty high on this. I have to send an 8 for this category.
Yeah, this movie is really interesting because we all see it very differently. Usually we're not this different, and because I have it not nearly as high. I mean, there's WTS, but most of them are. I mean, we've talked about a lot of them, but most of them are just kind of like I won't remember them. They didn't make me laugh. It's just like what, like I mean, sure he's dancing. They get a guy to dance in order to. They're dancing, painting in order to show the guy who's like a better dancer wants to show them how to do it right, and he's painting. I'm more wondering how he reached the top of that huge, twice as high as him.
You and your physics.
Side when he's dancing. I don't know. I'm more wondering that. I don't think though. Like I say, I didn't find them very good. WTFs. Yeah, it's enough of them, but I don't think we've hit enough on the little people. I don't know.
I love the fact I think one of them was Mickey from Seinfeld.
I don't think so, but
No, okay.
no, I'm pretty sure he isn't. But like they go into a bar, they're looking for one of the guys that's part of the gang, and they're like, well, we can't even serve you. How old are you? You kids got to get out of here. And I'm like, and they're behind the bar, so you can't really, and it's opposite camera angle. So I'm like, you can't tell that they're little people. I'm looking at them thinking, are those little people? Why would there be
totally
2 little?
They were little people, yes, but
I'm like, why would there be 2 little people? And then the third one shows up and tells them to beat them up, and they fight the little people. Number one, why is there a bar only of little people? No reason. And then the fight, and that fight is insane. That's the only time that the midgets are the only people that don't know martial arts, and yet basically kick their ass. They're just on top of them, pulling at their hair and stuff. I'm like, this makes like it's no sense. And then the best part to me is this movie came out in 1991, and in the credits, it lists different people. It lists like tournament fighters, and then all of a sudden in the credits is little people. And the 3 names. And I'm amazed that they didn't drop an M-bomb because it's 1991. To me, that's WTF. So, I mean, I just think that scene steals it, but there's just not enough good ones other than that for me. So I only got a 6.
All right. This doesn't usually happen that there's actually stuff left for me. So the uncle. The uncle gets injured. He gets his shin shattered, something like that. And they're afraid that he's never going to be able to martial arts again. And so he's home and he's trying to recuperate. He's trying to like exercise, and he gets frustrated and gives up. I'm like, did you try to recuperate like for a whole afternoon before you gave up?
True.
Because it feels like you would have like your frustration could have lasted at least like overnight before you gave up on walking again. There's a line reading that just slayed me because okay, so we have the pizza, we have that gets split up in everyone, and then later our heroes are told, like they don't have to discover anything. They're just sat down literally at a table and told the plan of how the pizza works. And there's a line reading where one of them says, "Hey, that could be the piece of pizza that Anna has."
Yeah.
Not oh, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, could that be the one?
I don't know. You make it sound like pieces of pizza being sent in the mail don't happen often.
And why? I mean, he did sit down to write out a note or something. But why was there no information included with the pizza? That could have smoothed out a lot of this movie.
Yeah, a little more communication, a little little tip as to what this was for. But the big one for me, and why my score is high on this one. So the most of our main characters were in Vietnam together, except for like the kids, of course, and the bad guy dad accidentally kills a Vietnamese woman and then takes her child, which he raises himself. And but he seems to resent that a bit too. But in that picture, remember that he knows nothing about this child. So he names this child Charlie.
I can get that before.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah,
8
that's
for
impressive.
me, mainly based on that that realization.
I just thought it was because there was a part where they were having dinner and Charlie asked for something and he goes, "Sorry, Charlie," and I'm like, this is like the second movie almost in a row where somebody had the line chart, because Food Fight had that same line to the tuna fish from. So I just thought they wanted to do that.
You know, I had one more that I wanted your guys' opinion on. Just out of curiosity, the main bad guy near the end of the movie betrays his gang by calling the cops. Now, did that make any sense to you guys? Because he was at the place he called the cops
I
to.
didn't think he did either.
Oh no,
I thought that's what he did. Yeah.
yeah, he totally called the cops, and then it got blamed on Tank, who was on the phone to his mother or something like that, and then then the cops come, and he doesn't successfully escape them. I mean, of course, because of the double dragons, but it's just like, but yes, it was a very odd moment. Like, he's the one who betrayed them. I assumed that he was going to try to get away with all the money himself, though. Once again, much like the pizza plan, this plan was also half baked.
See, I thought half baked. Nice. I actually thought, like, I missed that. Somehow I thought the police showed up because the script decided they needed some police all of a sudden. So they just showed up.
And they did need the police, but I do believe it was him. Yeah, that is what the fuck. But at the same time, trying to figure out how it all works is going to break my brains.
Yeah, I just thought there was, an out for him there, and there wasn't. If a helicopter had come, maybe they couldn't get the helicopter from a different. I don't know. There should have been a way for him to escape without the gang. If the police showed, no one has a complete thought in this movie.
Or this podcast talking about this movie. All right.
Memorable moments. What's your takeaway from this?
My takeaway from this is that my takeaway from this is that I should have probably included the name Breathing Fire on my what the fucks. That's about it. But that name, it really sums up everything to this movie. There's very little that I'm actually going to remember. I have a sneaking suspicion that when we do the awards next year, I'm going to look back and be like, Breathing Fire. Nope, doesn't ring a bell whatsoever. I'm going to go with it too.
And we'll say Bolo Young in drag, and you'll go, oh.
But the problem is I won't remember anything else.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit higher on this one because I saw this movie 15 15, 16 years ago. And it's always been on my list to go back and rewatch. And every once in a while I go, oh yeah, there was that Bolo Young movie, and I think he breakdances in it. I got to go back and watch it. And I can never remember what it was called. So it wasn't until I was trying to figure out a movie to do for this season. It's like, well, that one's sort of sitting out there. I wonder if anybody in that movie other than Bolo Young ever worked again. And I looked it up, and it wasn't that hard. I had to look on the internet and type in breakdancing and Bolo Young, and this is what came up.
And he doesn't even breakdance, so it's just like you sold us a false bill of goods with that one, because I know we were so excited.
I apologize, but I mean, we got a little bigger person fight in there. That's almost as good.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's viable. It fits.
And the breakdancer did know martial arts for no reason again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it stuck with me, so I can't like go really low. Yet at the same time, it's called Breathing Fire and is a fairly generic, other than the incompetence, martial arts film. So I'll go 4. I'll give it a 4 on memorability, and I'll be disappointed if anyone goes higher, which is sort of a dare now. Now that it's out there, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to give it. Well, here, Bolo Young in drag will not leave me. Because, like I say, because I thought it was Mike Tyson, especially. That's the main problem. That's why it will not leave me. I'll remember the strobe light fight, not the fight itself, but I remember that as a concept for a fight. Because I think done right, something really cool could happen with that. It's just this wasn't it. So I'll remember the concept of a strobe light but I don't know if I'll actually tie it back to this film. I would give it a 3, but I'm kind of a little soft for the, like I say, nostalgia type for these type of movies, and so I'm going to go up to a 4.
4, you say? I'm not going to hold on to this in my head. Honestly, even Bolo Young didn't resonate for me. I think because he was underused in the whole film.
Yeah, he has wasted potential all over it. Like, it could have been so cool.
I can only assume they could not afford a Bolo Young for more than a couple of days. So 2 for me. Crazy concept is our final category.
It's an interesting one because it is kind of crazy in and of itself. I mean, but for the fact that it's kind of a remake of the Flash legs in that regard. So it's a concept that's already been made. Plus, it's got a lot of the like Karate Kid elements and that kind of thing. So I have a hard time giving it a high score simply because I think that there's some crazy parts to it, but I don't think the overall concept is particularly crazy. I'll go with 4.
Yeah. Martial arts films, especially of this era, tend to be fairly simplistic in nature. I'm going to give it a couple points just for the fact that they have a lot going on in this movie and a lot of characters to keep track of that in most martial arts movies. Somebody would have gone, we could simplify this a little bit. So I'll go up to a 4, but on a whole, it's not insane.
Well, we might actually have a category where we're all scoring it the same. At least if our friend James Cutt over there doesn't screw it up, because I also got a 4 for this. I think that's exactly right. It's there's enough there that it's like, okay, there was a couple of elements, but there's not enough that makes you go, it's original.
I will come very close to a uniform by giving it a 3. I think they just kind of, trying to capitalize on the little bit of interest in this in kids doing martial arts drops down to a touch for me. So 3. All right. And each season we have 6 secret modifiers. Sometimes these modifiers I kind of want everyone to weigh in on. Sometimes they're like the time ones are easy for me to do, but I did feel like this was setting up a sequel, and I want just the way that they wrap up the bad guy. Felt like there was something there. Anyone else?
Also,
vote?
The way it ends is very like all of a sudden they just attacked on. Hey, because basically when the one kid sees Charlie fighting his dad. and and his dad dies, and he blames him. He wants to beat up Charlie in the tournament at the end, and then he knocks out Charlie and feels bad, and it's like, they're hugging at the end, and it's like, I think you're right. I think that this felt very much like they were trying to set up another one.
All right, so -1 for setting up a sequel, and that brings us to a final total of 51.5 out of 100, putting it right behind Warlock 2: The Armageddon and right ahead of Son of Kong.
All right.
Hey, 3 movies picked by Nick.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
I do hope you enjoyed this one too, because I actually had a ton of fun with it.
I liked it. I did.
It fits nicely within the one shit wonder. I mean, there's no question. Like, one of the things that I think we're kind of looking for out of these one shit wonders is a general level of incompetence that we enjoy this general level of incompetence, right? Like when you watch and it's like the script makes no sense, or like the directing is like, what time? What? No, I don't get it. And so those are the kind of things that are fun and we do enjoy.
Yeah, I feel bad that we went through this entire episode with basically never mentioning the girl that. That's because the film forgets she exists too.
Oh, for sure, so true. Like there's just no women there. Like there's the girlfriend of the dad, and then there's the girl that brings in the pizza and shows up at random occasions throughout, like a sprinkling of women. That's about it, though. There's nothing else in this movie that.
Yeah, actually, they could all have worn signs that said "scenery."
Yeah,
it wouldn't have made a difference to this particular movie.
That's right. That's for sure. All right, what do you say, Jim? Shall we do some business?
All right. We are sponsored by We Talk Podcasts, and WeTalkPodcast.com is the home of the Octagon, where you can keep track of our search for the ultimate B movie, sortable by each of the 5 categories. Also, We Talk Podcasts has a Facebook, and they have a Twitter, and we are on Instagram at Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo. Also, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube.
All right. Well, next episode of Season 12 One Shit Wonder, that will be Jack's Choice Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And that is definitely a different viewing experience than this one. So it's going to be very interesting to hear, because that's, a lot of people have heard of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, whereas very few people, I think, have heard of Breathing Fire. So.
I wonder how many IMDb votes are for both, as like a curiosity. How many people have voted on IMDb for these two? I mean, I'm looking it up right now. Killer Clowns is 30,000.
Yeah, Breathing Fire 438, and Killer Clowns 30,000. I think Killer Clowns is one of the riff tracks or something like that, though, and those always drive the numbers way up.
Yeah, for sure.
Every time one of those like Mystery Science or riff tracks does these, those shitty shows that aren't as good as ours.
I actually don't believe that's true. I have to look that up, because I don't think it is.
Well, let's not look it up right now. I'll
I'll look it up for the next show.
I'm definitely not. I definitely don't want to promote someone else's show anymore than we already have.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, all right. I don't have anything to add, and I don't think anybody else should add anything. So. For Jack, for Jim, and for Nick, I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and thanks for listening to the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo!